Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our annual celebration. I'm John Moore, Director of Philanthropy and Engagement, and I'm going to serve as your MC and also as your moderator for tonight. You know, this year is unlike any annual celebration United Way has ever done. While we do have things that we're definitely going to be celebrating tonight, we also find ourselves in a time where our nation is mourning the loss of hundreds of thousands of people and in disproportionate numbers in the African American community to this non-discriminating disease called COVID-19. And we're also mourning the brutal death of yet another African American whose life was snuffed out by the vicious act of police brutality. And yet, there is an undeniable change underway. And in a great sense, in many ways, we are living history. So with all of this in mind, we changed our format for our program a little bit tonight to allow the voices to be heard for these issues. We have some business that we have to take care of, which includes recognizing our outgoing and incoming board members. And we're also very excited about a drawing that's going to take place, and someone's going to be announced as the winner of the 2020 Kia Forte lease that's going to be provided by Auto Team Delaware. But then we're going to get into some serious dialogue as we open up with our president and CEO, Michelle Taylor, our board chair, John D'Agostino, and we also have a couple of our young United Way alumni coming back with us, Trey Broadwater and McQuan Higgin. So before we turn everything over to Michelle and to John D., please join us in a brief moment of silence for George Floyd, his family, and for all the victims of police brutality, systemic racism, and injustice. A moment of silence. Thank you. And now, please welcome the United Way of Delaware President and Chief Executive Officer, Michelle Taylor.
Thanks, John. We're excited to be with the community tonight. And this is the time, right, where we actually get to recognize our outgoing board members who have given countless hours to helping to give guidance and support and counsel and fiduciary responsibility to our organization, but ultimately to serve the community. They've been really passionate about the work that we've been doing. They've given countless hours. And so we want to be able to recognize them tonight. We also have the pleasure of celebrating and welcoming incoming board members. At this time, I'm going to introduce our nominating committee chair, Gary Stockbridge, to be able to share this information.
Thank you, Michelle. And good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be with you tonight. As mentioned earlier, I have a little bit of our business that we have to take care of in the meeting, and that starts with that recognition of our outgoing board members. These are four individuals who've been stalwart with the United Way, great supporters, and very active in the communities that we serve. It's Kevin Fitzgerald, Roger Levinson, Mark Brainerd, and Mary Hickok. On behalf of all the members of the board, I really want to thank you for your years of service. I wish you all the best. I know most of you aren't going far, and we'll always have our hooks into you in some way or another. And thank you for your service. Now, some other business. I'd also like to list our new board officer appointments for fiscal 2020. Our chair will be John D'Agostino. Our chair-elect will be Rick Dedweiler. Our past chair, board chair, will be myself, Gary Stockbridge. Our secretary, Brian Nourier. Treasurer, Phil Barnett. Chair of audit will be Edmund Green. Our chair of revenue and growth will be John Panicella. Our chair of strategic steering will be George Guido. Our chair of human resources, Terry Hartwell Easter. Our chair of marketing and communications, Michelle Schiavone. And our two at-large members, Lynn Miller and Dr. Laverne Harmon. That's our board officers. In addition, I'd like to list our new board members that are going to be on a 3-year term ending in 2023. That's David Braun, Darrell Green, Catherine Hogan, Larry Melly, Chuck Mosher, Clarence Dingam, Paul Seitz, Judith Schipple, and Donna Vieira. So before I make a motion, as a reminder, our board members will need to use the chat function to indicate their vote. And I would ask them to type Y for yay and N for nay, so we can document the voting tonight for our officers and new board members. So now I move that we adopt the slate of officers and the new board members as presented. Do I have a second?
Second, John D'Agostino.
All right, John, thank you very much for seconding that. And now I'd ask for all those in favor, as mentioned, to type in the chat screen a yay or a nay. Give that a second. Okay. And as usual, the vote is unanimous in favor. I can see the yays streaming in, and the motion carries. I thank you all for your votes. And again, congratulations to our new board officers and welcome on board to our new board members. And most importantly, another thanks to those that are outgoing board members. Best of luck as you move forward. With that, I'll turn it back to John.
I think it actually goes to me, John D'Agostino. And you're lucky to about turning my camera on. Let's see if that's going to work.
Hey, Michelle, I apologize. I might have been muted there for a little bit at the end.
Gary, thank you very much. On behalf of the board, I want to thank our board members that are leaving. They've been great for our organization, their leadership, their participation. But thank you very much. And we welcome our new board members as we get into our 2021 year. We're welcome to our board. Looking forward to working together and growing in that area of Delaware. So thank you. Fun time. To the auto of Delaware.
So I know we're excited right now. This is an exciting time of this whole evening. We're going to have a drawing for a lease for a 2020 Kia Forte. And to take care of that, we're going to go live to our friend Lee Asher at Auto Team Delaware. Lee?
Hey, everybody. Got my mask. All right, we're social distancing. That's Will from the United Way. All right, we're talking about one of those. I don't know if that can Zoom. I don't know. I can't be in the parking lot and in my office all at the same time. So anyway, we're talking about one of those. It's a Kia Forte 2020. We are Kia of Wilmington, Auto Team Delaware. This has been, we could start, like I think I said this last year, we're just adding to the fleet at this point for this huge inventory that we're creating with all these cars we're giving away. So, all right, without further ado, Will's going to hold this for me. There you go. All right, let's see who it is. Can everybody hear me? Here we go. Well, there's a lot of names in here. There's like a ton of names in here. Holy moly. Well, hold on a second. Whoa, I'm losing names. Look, hold on. I think the internet's got to see this. Look how many names are in here. Oh my God. That's crazy. Oh my God. All right. All right, I'm going. We're gonna pick them up. We're gonna pick them up. Sorry, this is taking like way longer than it should. All right. I got one. I'm not looking. All right. David Spritzer.
Wow.
Gonna spritz some water on his new ride after it gets pollen on it. All right, David Spritzer, you're the winner. Congratulations. 2020 Kia Forte GT lease. We're going to have him in the dealership hopefully in the next couple weeks. David Spritzer, congrats. Back to you guys. Proud to partner with you.
Wow. Thanks so much, Lee. That was awesome, man. Thanks, Auto Team Delaware, Mike Uffner, for this tremendous relationship we've had over the years. And congratulations to our winner for the 2020 Kia Forte lease. Let's give them a virtual hand. I'm telling you, that's awesome. So we're really excited. And now, as I've mentioned earlier, we want to change things up a little bit. While we want to celebrate, and we got a lot of things to celebrate, we recognize all those past achievements, but we also have to have some real conversation about where we are and where we're going, particularly during this current time. And so for the main portion of our program this evening, we're going to conduct a panel format. And to help us with an additional perspective, to go along with Michelle Taylor and John D'Agostino, we brought back two of our alumni, young men that grew up right here in United Way, Delaware, and that's Trey Broadwater and McQuan Higgin. And so I want to say a little bit about these two guys. They're awesome. And let me just share about Trey and about Mac just quick. That's how we used to call them when they were here. Both Trey and Mac were multi-year participants in our United Way, Delaware Summer Youth Employment Program. Both these young men served as Life Map experience facilitators, where they worked to onboard over 1,000 students through that summer youth program. And now the Life Map experience is a youth development initiative, and it aims at promoting asset awareness and development through authentic storytelling and engaged curriculum. But then these guys didn't stop there. We're very proud to say that Trey went on. He graduated from the Appoquinimink School District, and now he holds a degree from the University of Maryland, College Park, in government and politics, and he has a minor in philosophy. And as for that Mac went on from Newcastle County Votech School District to go on to Penn State University and get his degree in finance. So these two young men are doing tremendous things. So we're very excited about our panel tonight, and we're ready to get going. So first things first, let me start with the questioning, and we're going to start at the top with Michelle Taylor. So Michelle, as I start with you, I want to ask you, what are some of the successes that you've had over the past year?
Thanks, John. One of the things that I would say that has been our success that's led to our work, first and foremost, is our partnerships and the relationships with people we have in the community. This work does not happen without them. We have some amazing partners that work alongside of us that are collectively and collaboratively trying to drive change. We all have great talented people, and I have to say a kudos to our own staff and team, my colleagues that I work with every day at United Way and 211 that work tirelessly, who give their heart and are passionate about making a difference in the community. And then, of course, we have an amazing board. I want to say again, congratulations to our new board members, and thank you to our outgoing board members. As I think Gary said, we don't expect you to go far. We know that we can always count on you as a friend and champion of our work. And so, the biggest things, John, I would say that, we've continued to focus on the things that matter. We adopted a Live United plan last year that still has us focusing on how do we move the needle on kids reading by the end of third grade? How do we prepare a workforce, a diverse workforce of young men and women that come from communities, those that are most disadvantaged, those are most marginalized, to help to make sure that they're tomorrow's workforce, preferably right here in Delaware, and that it leads to a livable wage, right? And then we want our families to be more financially stable. We know that this has been a trying year, particularly for those that have been impacted by COVID, but we really want to try to be able to help families not just be in crisis, but to help them to be more empowered so that they can have home ownership, so that they can acquire the assets and the resources that they need. And we've been doing that. We've been doing it through 211 and Stand By Me, through some of the work that for Get Delaware Reading, the partnerships that we have with great programs in our state like Pathways. And so, we've been trying to be able to drive change while across the state in all three counties and in Salem County, but it's trying to be more intentional, more focused, more collaborative, really trying to make sure that everything we do is aligned and integrated in order to have the impact that we want to have.
Excellent. Great response, Michelle. We need a board perspective as well. So John D., what do you think have been the biggest successes for United Way of Delaware?
Similar on last year, some of my responses and questions is really consistent with Michelle. Developing our 2024 goal and mission for the next year as we move forward.
Not picking up.
Meeting the greater
Oh, they happen. John.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, we can't actually hear you, John. John, do you want to go to Trey and Mac, and then we try to be able to see if we can circle back? John, you want to try to talk to Mac and to Trey?
Okay, we're going to go ahead and press on.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let me bring the young people in. So this is a question I'm going to ask to both Mac and Trey. I want them to give me some short responses to this. And Trey, if you're on board, you're going to start with the response, and Mac, you'll follow up. But when you think about United Way of Delaware's work and what impact they're having, what do you think that is done for you and for other young people?
Yeah, and so I'm going to speak from the different programs that I was a part of. So the United Way internship program and the Life Map program. So with the internship program, it allows high school and college students to gather the soft skills necessary for any workplace and even academic setting. Whereas the Life Map program allows students to understand and utilize where they've been and where they are presently in order to understand a greater, or have a greater understanding of how to utilize those skills in order to know where they're going. And so those two programs, really impact students just not only in Wilmington area, but in Newcastle, Delaware at large.
Great answer, Trey. Okay, what about you, Mac? What do you say?
Yeah, so I would say that not only does the Life Map experience appeal to youth who are in the adolescent ages, I would also agree that there is a certain power in the story with the Life Map experience, in that you have youth, adolescents, not only that are my age, but those who were younger than me, being placed in a peer-to-peer mentorship role, in where a lot of these stories, and telling where you've been, where you've come from, and where you're actually going, and understanding that people that come from the same backgrounds as you share, a lot of these stories similarly. I think there's a power in that, in allowing, the youth to understand that there's different anomalies that come from these environments. And not only that, but it also allows them to reflect on the various assets that they've had in their life. As Trey mentioned before, the internship experience for me has been an asset in my adolescence. And I don't know if I'm so poised in the workplace today if I didn't have that experience. So I think the Life Map really helped to expose the different assets available to these different communities, especially inner cities, and also help United Way not only to understand what those gaps are in those assets, but also allow them to fill them as well.
Very good. You both sound like college graduates, Mac. And look at you guys, got mustaches that's bigger than mine. Oh, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I knew these guys when they were in high school, and we watched them grow up in our organization. So thank you so much for the responses so far. It's been very exciting. And yeah, before we go to our question for the panel and we dive into other topics, the one thing I want to do is we want to play a short video that highlights some of the great work that was done by United Way of Delaware and our partners over the past year. So we're going to show you that video right now.
Incredible You by Dr. Wayne W. Dyer. 10 ways to let your greatness shine through.
Wasn't that amazing? You know, it's nothing like collaboration and unity in the community. When we all work together, the great things we're able to do. You know, somebody said, only when it is dark enough to see the stars. And let me tell you something, United Way of Delaware and all its partners are truly shining stars. And so we're grateful for all the great work accomplished this year. Now we want to get into a little bit of heavier topic of discussion with our panel. We want to talk about racial equity and social justice. Now, this is something that our nation has struggled with for a very long time. And the death of George Floyd has ignited a conversation about systemic racism like no time in modern history. And for our next question, I'm going to go back to our president. Michelle, what can you say about United Way's role when it comes to racial equity, social justice, and why does it matter that it matters so much to us?
John, that's a great question. The reality is for over 70 years, this is the work that we've been doing. We've been always fighting to ensure that those that come from the most marginalized community, those that are most disadvantaged, have equal access to resources. And education, income, health, right, has been our core focus. And sometimes I know that, particularly with times right now, it may seem like not that much change is taking place. But, change is one of those things that's generally incremental. And so, we've been working over the years of late, I would say in the last few years, really trying to make this more reality where zip code should not matter. It should not be a determining factor where kids end up. And so we like to think of our young people like Mac and Trey and so many kids and families in our communities that they're assets and not deficits, right? That we can author a new future for our kids, that we won't let the stats determine their outcomes and where they'll end up. That while the research may say that there may be a greater chance for like African-American males to go to jail than it is to graduate from college, we know that we can change that. And that collectively, right, that they're not who the stats say they are, that their environment doesn't dictate who they'll be. And so this work, along with our partners, it's the very essence of who we are as an organization. And so we have been trying to be able to work not just grassroots to help people individually, because that's generally in the space that we lie, right? But over the last few years, particularly during my tenure, probably in the last 15 years, the board adopted some public policy initiatives and some guidelines, recognizing that you really can't get to long-term systemic change without policy changes. And so we've been fighting for policies, right, that are barriers to helping our communities succeed, to helping them advance. And that we realize, again, that it's going to take all of us to be able to get there. And so together, is when the change is going to happen. And so, we have to choose to believe in the better part of humanity. And that it's not easy sometimes. It's some of the hardest work that it's for us to do. And the last thing I'll remind us is that this work is deep rooted. It's complex. It's going to take more than United Way, any single industry, any single organization to bring about change. It's going to take all of us.
Surely is. Thank you so much for that response. John D., I want to ask you a question from a board perspective. So what does it mean to you? Why do we need to be in this work for the long haul? John D.
Mhm.
John, can you hear me?
No, I think he's still having technical difficulties, John.
Okay. Well, let me press on to one of these young guys. Hey, Mac, you there? I got a question for you.
Yes, you hear me?
Yeah, I got a question for you. You know, we've seen a huge response of young people during this time. So how do you think we can engage the young voices in addressing issues like racial equity?
On Zooms.
Sorry, I think you ended at racial equity. Sorry.
Yeah. So the question was, from a young person's perspective, you see the huge response of young people in this time. How do you think we engage the young voices in addressing issues of racial equity and social justice?
I think that, at a high level, it starts with definitely meeting the youth and the young people where they are. A format that is, I would say, palatable to them. Starts with, dialogues such as these, where you open up, the floor for the youth to have a voice, in the midst of, all of what's going on, with George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery. We see that the youth are invigorated to make a change, and this change can be confused as radical. It can be sporadic, but the thing about it is, we have allies, in these spaces where I think United Way can step in is being that ally along with the youth, to help to kind of challenge, to not only challenge society, but also to direct that energy in a more strategic manner. So I definitely think that conversations and dialogues such as these definitely need to take place. And as well, I don't think that the solution is necessarily completed overnight. I think that it's going to take a few conversations around how do we kind of wrap our hands around this and make this something that's scalable and can grow.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mac, we're looking forward to your leadership difference in our community. And I want to thank everybody. This has been a great discussion so far, but think about where we are since March. We cannot have a further discussion. We're not talking about COVID-19. And COVID-19 has dramatically impacted the lives of Delawareans and businesses, including the nonprofit world. And so that's where I want to leave this next question. So Michelle, could you talk about the impact COVID is having on how you have responded and any lessons learned or thoughts?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, the one thing that we don't want to forget is we're still in a pandemic, right? I think it's easy to forget when the weather is now turning warm and, we've been kind of locked in our homes for the last few months, being compliant, working from home, practicing social distancing, staying away from even our friends and closest relatives. And so it's real easy in the midst of this right now to forget that. So I do want to be able to remind the community that the pandemic is still going on. And one of the things, the best lessons learned for me, I think around this is leadership matters. I think that we have, again, some amazing leaders within our community, from the front line of our healthcare workers to that of the government to the community-based organization, which leads to my second is collaboration is key. I think that we've been working together collaboratively to make sure that our community stays safe, right? And that we're all healthy, and that it didn't happen without being intentional about that. And then the third thing is it required action, and it required it quickly. And so, most organizations, ours included, When the executive order came out, we had to learn to work remotely. The schools closed. Kids had to change their settings from being in a structured setting within the school building to now being at home in front of Zoom. Zoom, we're on it tonight, has become our friend. Sometimes it's our enemy, right? When it works, when the internet works well, it does. And when it doesn't, we have to still be able to persevere and work through. So part of the lessons learned too is that technology is one of the things that's really important, that the infrastructures that we need, and we were just talking about equity, right? And so in some of our most disadvantaged communities, those that need us most had the least resources. So they might not have had a computer at home. They may not have had internet services. They may not have had Wi-Fi and access to being able to still get the educational things that they needed. And so it's key. I think as we go forward, it's going to be more for us in a virtual world. So technology is going to play out for all of us. The second is that with great partnerships like with the Delaware Community Foundation, Dana, the Philanthropy Delaware, we quickly partnered to figure out how we could demonstrate ourselves, the four of us, practicing what we preach. We knew that collaboration was going to be key. And so we said, why don't we lead in this area? Why don't we strategically think about what we can do? And so we jointly launched what we would call, I would call it a 3-4 pronged strategy. One is we quickly put a strategic fund together that's managed by the Delaware Community Foundation and a rapid response fund by United Way. One was intended to deal with the right now, the increased needs of the community, and the other support the organizations, helping to build capacity across the state that we knew that we were going to need. The second was around volunteerism. And so we knew that volunteers were going to be needed. And I'm pleased to say that through our efforts, I want to thank our volunteers who still made sure that seniors had meals delivered, that medication was in place, that we were manning the food bank drop-offs, right, in the community. All of that doesn't happen without amazing volunteers and amazing colleagues that were still on the front line every day, trying to make sure that the increased demands and needs of our community was still taking place. And shout outs to 211. It's the state's information and referral resources that increased their hours, expanded their days to 7 days a week to make sure that they could be there for the community, because we expected an increased need, and it is. Even I want to be able to point out that even when Memorial Day holiday comes, or if it was Good Friday, or if it was another holiday, 4th of July is coming up, the needs of people in our community doesn't stop because it's a holiday. It doesn't stop because it's a Saturday and Sunday. And so we have individuals that are on the front line making sure, with our partnership with DSS, with DHSS, with public health, trying to jointly make sure that we're meeting those needs. And so collective work of partners, John, is another key component of the work. And so at the end of the day, this work doesn't happen without amazing people on the front line, from our healthcare workers to our community-based organizations, to our volunteers, to our government. To all of them, I say thank you. And I want the community to know, right, that we're here for you to be able to meet the needs. And I'm going to do another plug for 211, because if you need resources, if you need health and human services, if you have needs and you don't know where to turn, dial 211.
Dial 211. So we're grateful for all that, with the great collaboration in the community. Michelle Taylor, we're grateful for your leadership as well. So I wanted to ask John D. John D, if you're there, board member, business leader perspective, what is the impact that you've seen in our community and the role you think United Way played?
John, I don't think that it's going to work with John. Okay. You're going to need to go to Trey.
Yep, well, I'll keep pressing then. Well, Trey, Broadwater, this is for you. As you know, COVID-19 has disproportionately impacted Black and Brown communities. What are some of your thoughts, young man, on best practices for these communities?
Yeah, and so I think when we're looking at the best practices, we got to think about one of our best resources for reaching these disproportionately impacted communities, and that is United Way's voice. Utilizing United Way's reach in the community, not only in Delaware, but nationwide, even down to the individual Black and Brown neighborhoods, in order to get out a message of, how to be safe, how to follow the CDC guidelines, and how to be cautious without panicking. Because what we're seeing is a lot of misinformation, and a lot of fear. But I think United Way could be a calming voice in this time of, pandemonium. So that would be one of the best practices that I think United Way could utilize in this type of situation.
Outstanding. Thank you so much. Well, we got one more question for you guys, and Trey and Mac, I'm going to start with you, and this is going to bring this to a close. So when you think about the work of United Way of Delaware and the systemic issues we face, what are the top things that you two think that United Way should be doing? And we'll go ahead and start with Mac. Mac, what do you think United Way should be doing?
Yeah, thanks, John. I want to say that, first and foremost, in the event of, all that's happening to, our community, the Black and Brown community, I've received countless emails from or text messages from, friends who don't identify with being Black or a person of color, as well as emails from coworkers. And I think one of the first things to do is definitely to be able to do the work. And when I say do the work, I mean going back to understand a lot of, the history behind, all the systems that affect people that look like us, or that look like me rather. Because I received, although they're really great gestures in that, asking how the best ways that they can help, or, whether it be, just being that reassuring voice to say that I'm with you. Rather, I think that it's also great to also do the work. It's just a bit of more proactive approach in understanding the issues that plague us historically, and kind of updating, I guess, our understanding of the issues, and just holding each other on a higher degree of humanity. A lot of young men who look like me, have to be aware of both blatant biases that we see in society that we interact in, as well as unconscious biases, right? If I get pulled over by a policeman, what are some of the things that he can think about? I think that there's certain privileges that are afforded to, people based on their color, that allow them to kind of be ignorant to certain information. So, what we see in the case of, I want to say George Floyd, why did his, unconscious bias of him cause him to lose his life versus, if, it was someone else or a person of a different skin color, it would just be not knowing, So I think that, one, I want to encourage everyone to do the work, update, the way you think about, racism or racial bias, whether it be systemic, where you face it in the education system, at work, and society. I think that what United Way can do, very just immediately, just from, I guess an administrative perspective, is definitely having, having the HR process be more rigorous in, who you hire. Definitely just understanding, even flat out plain out saying it, that, tell me about a time where you faced, or you helped someone who experienced racial bias. Something as simple as that can be implemented from the hiring process. Also, just from an impact perspective, also, hiring in more diverse leadership roles, and showing that you really stand with us.
Thanks, man. That's good response. Right. Good
Yeah,
response.
thank
Trey, I want to afford Trey an opportunity to go ahead and answer that question.
Yeah, so I think one of the top things that we should be doing as United Way of Delaware is political participation and activism. However, I think it's important to stress that it be positive and constructive political participation and activism. Voting, not just in the general election, but in our gubernatorial, mayoral elections. Where can we reach and have a voice in our policies that are being placed? And I also think that it's, talking about engaging the community in the political process, writing letters to your local officials, and even being aware of what's going on around us. It's really understanding where we are in Delaware, in Newcastle County, and then understanding where can we have an impact that will really affect the lives, of our citizens. And then, it's even knowing, that Delaware can truly be a light in America. Back in January 2019, the Newcastle County Police Department passed regulations in how do you use of force, and what are the ways in which you should definitely not use it. And so, seeing that, we're trying to mitigate the things that we see around us, Delaware could be a utopian society in this sense, where we're showing people this is really how you take care of these things. And it's in the policies, and we carry out the policies. So I think that's one of the top things that we should be doing.
Outstanding. I want you and Mac to know we're very proud of both of you and all the things you've achieved. Michelle, we're going to go ahead and end it up with you, Michelle. What do you think are the top things for United Way of Delaware, and what should we be doing?
I'm gonna start with where Trey left off, right? If he's saying Delaware could be a model, and we always say, if not Delaware, then where? And if not now, then when? And so I think that Delaware can be a model, across the state as it relates to ensuring literally that more of our kids actually are reading on grade level, that more of our young people, regardless of zip code, are actively being employed and part of the Delaware workforce and part of the economy, that our families are financially strong, that they're just not renters, but they're homeowners, right? That they are saving away for their own kids' college education and retirement, and they also are building wealth and assets, across the country. We can be that state and that community without a doubt. And how we get there from where we are now, one is I constantly think about the definition of insanity, right? We can't keep doing the same things and expecting different results. So we're going to have to change, right? And we can't accept status quo. And so how we go about this work, right? All of us, myself included, right? This organization included, we got to be able to challenge ourselves, our thinking, our thought process, our practices, so that we too can be a more integral part in the solutions and in the communities that we're trying to build. And so, look, we got to expand our reach, right? To reach more people. Right now, without a doubt, we are at a record time high for the number of unemployed people in the state. They need us, right? They need us to show up collectively as a community to help them move out of crisis back to stability, and from stability to empowerment. We can do that. That means we're going to have to engage more people, right? And all this energy and passion that's happening right now and around protests. We've been having this conversation about what makes right now different. Like, is this time going to be different? I believe it is. There is young voices. People are speaking up. People are very passionate. Young people want to be a part of the change, but it's not just young. It's young, older, Black, white, Asian, and Hispanic. It is all of us that are humanity that can build a stronger community together by listening more, by learning, by doing, by making sure that all voices are represented at the table, and that we think differently about how we enact strategies and how we prepare and empower that next group of leaders. Because we got some amazing young leaders in our community. And I got to speak to some of them last week, and they were saying they just don't want to have a seat at the table. In some cases, they want to help to create a table. create the table, right? And they also want to they recognize the wisdom and the hard work that's been laid. And how do we do this more collaboratively? We got to collaborate like never before. It's going to take all of us. But I also will say we do have to channel. It's difficult. I'm not going to kid you. I think last week was probably one of the hardest weeks I've had in my professional career. It's heavyweight, right? Thinking about the anger and frustration and fear, and sometimes thinking that we take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. Sometimes we think that change hasn't come and we're at the same place. But we have to choose, and I choose, right, to believe in humanity still. I choose to believe, right, that we're stronger together than we are apart. I choose to say that we can unite and put a voice around racism and hate and injustices of all kinds. And I choose really to believe that our work can make a difference. That's research, that stats and statistics don't have to determine our future. We as a community get to author what the kids and families, what the state of Delaware and what Salem County looks like. And so as we close tonight, I want to be able to thank, those who attended and who are watching, but I also want to be able to do this challenge out to my colleagues to say, are you in with me? Right? I'm in. Are you in?
My name is Basha Silverman. I'm with Jewish Family Services, and I'm in.
Hi, I'm Kirsten Olson. I'm with Children and Families First, and I'm in.
I'm John Wellens with the Boys and Girls Club of Delaware, and I'm in.
My name is James Ray Rhodes. I'm with the Christina Cultural Arts Center, and I'm in.
My name is Ivy Harlev. I'm with the Siegel JCC. I'm in.
My name is Dave Beaver. I'm with the Delaware Center for Justice, and I'm in.
Hi, I'm Teresa Young. I'm with American Red Cross, and I'm in.
My name's Michelle Williams. I'm with Hilltop Lutheran Neighborhood Center, and I'm in.
My name is Captain Timothy Sheehan. I'm with the Salvation Army of Delaware, and I'm in.
Hi, I'm Allison David. I'm with the Claymont Community Center, and I'm in.
My name is Peggy Geisler. I'm with the Sussex County Health Coalition, and I'm in.
Hello, I'm Carla Greigel from the Newark Senior Center, and I'm in.
Hi, I'm Seal DeFazio from the MOT Gene Birch Senior Center. I'm in.
Hi, my name is Allison Wendell from Neighborhood House. I'm in.
I want to thank all of my colleagues for being in with me, and hopefully you're in too. It's going to take all of us to bring about the changes we want to see in our community. You can count on us to work more collaboratively, to listen more, to engage a diverse group of stakeholders, so that together we can create greater and better communities in both Delaware and Salem County. On behalf of our board, our staff, and the communities we serve, thank you for joining us tonight. And we look forward to working alongside of you.
You introducing me, John, or no?
I can.
There you go, bro.
Yeah, we are fortunate to have some final words from the chair of our board. We had some technical difficulties, but we must hear his voice. And so John DeAgostino, can you close us out?
Sure. Thank you, everybody. I'm sorry we had technical issues. I think I put my earbuds in, so it's working now. But I was moved by some of the presentations that Trey and Mac made today. And I just wanted to share my thoughts along those lines. In the near future, the news media and outlets, they're going to focus their cameras and their microphones on other issues. And we need to keep this momentum, this movement going to achieve goals around social injustice and racial equality. Those two issues cannot be purely legislated. We can't look to our people in Dover and DC to be the solvers of these problems. These are grassroots movements, and they need local leaders that will be consistent and continue this effort over the long haul. We also have to continue looking to close our opportunity gaps We understand that as a board. That's why our initiatives are reading at grade level, financial stability, career and college readiness. Those are the important factors to deal with some of the social injustices and racial inequalities that exist, but we have to continue closing those gaps. And that's what our 2024 plan is all about. When I travel across Delaware, and Delaware is a microcosm of our nation. And I know the small impact decisions and actions can make that can affect so many people in a positive fashion. And I'm encouraged by listening to Mac and Trey, hoping those people will heal their voices. But I think Michelle Taylor mentioned it. Delaware is a small community. We can make change here. Our strength is our size. Somebody has to start. One community has to start this movement. It can't just be protests, it has to be a movement. And so why not Delaware? And why not United Way is what I challenge my fellow board members, and they challenge me back with when we have discussions, when we try to give Michelle and her leadership direction, that we want to be the center of change across our nation because we have the power to make change. So I other things to say about your other topics, John, but I mean, the main point I wanted to get across about how our board interacts and what we think about is that we want to change to start in Delaware. So since I'm the last person on, I think it was going to end. I'll let John end it because John Moore is my inspiration. But I thank you all for attending our annual meeting. We're blessed to have you. Thank you for the hard work that you continually do on behalf of United Way, behalf of your own organizations, behalf of our entire community. I'll turn it over to you, John.
Well, I can just leave you with these words. We have a great motto that we say at the United Way. It says, underneath everything we are and underneath everything we do, we are all people, connected, interdependent, and united. And when you reach out a hand to one, you influence the condition of all. And that's what it means, as it says on the front of your shirt, John, to live united. So God bless everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for the great panel. Thank you to our new board members and those that are leaving, and continue to live united. Have a good evening.
Peace.